There are worse vices to have. I mean, he could get addicted to quack. I'm sorry. I'm done. Okay, I'm done with the
That's hilarious. That's the kind of joke I love.
Hello everyone,
Hello, guys.
I'm Veronica.
And I'm
that's
Donald.
Valdemar.
I'm Donald the duck.
And today we're watching Fat Electrician, when the Marines took a duck into battle in World War II. So, as you can predict, if you know us a little bit, I'm extremely excited because it's a video about an animal, and we also like Fat Electrician a lot.
I don't remember last time when we watched Fat Electrician and it wasn't about animals.
Excuse me, the last time we watched it was about guns, and before that it was about the pirates.
I only remember like there was something about the horse, about the bear.
Something about the horse.
About the.
Are you serious right now? Something about the horse. We watched a 30-minute video.
He was named Sergeant Reckless. I remember him.
Yeah? How is the penguin named?
I don't know, but he was in Norway, right?
I was hoping you remember because I don't remember either. I don't remember the name of the penguin, but I remember
You don't remember the name of the penguin?
He was a captain, right?
Yeah, he was like an officer.
Mm-hmm. And we also watched, of course, a video about Wojtek, the bear, the Polish bear who was in the military. And you can check all of them out in the Fat Electrician playlist if you want.
Yeah, we watched so many Fat Electrician videos that we have a playlist for him. And is this the Devil Duck? Is this from where the quack out? Bank quack bank out?
Maybe. I don't know.
Is it from this video?
I don't know. Guys, let us know because you're also deeply into the lore that you'll know. Or
But
maybe
this
you'll
video,
find out.
but this video is from 1 year ago.
Oh, so maybe not.
But
No,
what?
because we
It's a
watched older
coincidence. There are
videos.
two ducks. Like there was a duck that was on all his videos, and then by accident there was also another duck that was fighting in the Second World
That's
War.
interesting. We'll find out. One thing we'll find out soon as well is about that toilet paper joke, because I found a video that's about toilet paper. So I think it may be related.
What toilet paper?
Oh, it was featured 2 or 3 times at the end of the videos. Something about toilet paper, and people told us that there's deeper lore behind that, and I think, the source, unless I'm mistaken.
With toilet paper, I don't know what it means. I remember that people explained us who is the guy with the keyboard.
Ah, yeah.
That's the internet warrior.
Yeah, internet warrior.
Kind of funny, I must say. But with the toilet paper, I don't
Then maybe
remember.
I'll explain it to you. I'll educate myself before we watch the video. But today we're watching the video about the duck, and I don't know, there's something gruesome about the animals in the military, to be honest, but at the same time there's something very cute about it. So I am excited.
Contradictory to people in military in war.
There's nothing cute about people in the war. There is a lot gruesome about it, but not necessarily anything cute.
Have I told you about those tactics that the Russians used during Second World War with tanks and cats?
Yes, and don't tell me again.
So you know about it.
Yeah, don't tell me again.
So don't hear it, because maybe they didn't heard about it. Like they used the explosive and they used cats and dogs to run in the direction of soldiers. I heard tanks, but I don't know how true it is, because I don't think it's in the instinct of an animal like cat to run into a direction of something so big, so large, and so noisy. So I don't know how true it is. If you know better, then let me know. But I heard that was the case with Russians, which does not surprise me. Like, you know how they used to cross over the minefields. Mm-hmm. Like they were all the soldiers were holding each other hand by hand, and they were just walking.
Yeah.
I mean, they used cattle if they had any cattle around, but if there was no cattle, then humans were next.
Okay, let's watch the cute video about the duck and the Marines.
I don't know if it's gonna be cute. It's the devil duck, remember?
It is a devil duck, but I don't know. So far, every animal survived this whole war ordeal, so I think this one has statistically very high chances. Well, statistically 100% of a chance of survival. So
Why 100%?
because all the animals that we've watched before survived.
Ah, okay. Guys, if you're here still, check out our other channel as well. We have movie reactions. You can find something interesting for you. And if you want to support us and have an access to early access and other stuff, you can check out our Patreon.
Both things are in the description in case you're looking. And if you're already looking at the description, you could subscribe or leave a comment or something. That would be pretty neat.
All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most Marine Corps story I've ever heard in my entire life, and there's absolutely no way
There's
that
a
it's been
detector.
embellished. Like a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already talked about the Marine Corps' most famous animal hero, Sergeant Reckless, the horse that was adopted by the Marines during the Korean War that would go on to become the hero of Outpost Vegas and the first horse to ever partake in a Marine Corps amphibious landing. But before Sergeant Reckless, the Marine Corps had another hero from the animal kingdom that partook in multiple amphibious landings in the Pacific theater of World War II. Today we're talking about Sergeant Seawash, aka the Devil Duck. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me is an online subscription service. It's a very straightforward, simple business. You give them money, they get rid of your personal information off the internet. Okay, look, here's the deal. Somehow, some way, your personal information is on the internet. Your
I wonder how true it is.
I've seen a lot of different sponsors for this kind of service.
Are all sitting in some data broker's bank, and they're selling that information for money. But the good news is that these data
But it's kind of strange, it's a little bit shady to me because you give them the right of the authority to handle your data because they request the services on your behalf. So it just seems a little bit risky to me. Maybe I'm not educated.
I don't want to give all my personal information to Delete Me either because that just seems counterproductive. Okay, here's the thing with that. You don't have to give them all your private information. You can literally give them your name and your email address. You can give them more information if you want, but really all they need is your name and email, and then you come back a few days later and they just start asking you a bunch of yes or no questions. By using just your name and email, they'll search through all the data banks and figure out who you are, and they'll ask you a bunch of weird questions like, is this your dad? Is this your mom? Is that a relative? Is this your address? Did you used to live here? Did you grow up at this address? Is this your phone number? Is this your email? They know all of this information just by you giving them your name and email using all the information that these data brokers have. And then you just let them know, yes, that's me, and then they will delete all that information for you. A couple days after that, they're going to send you a report. Here was mine. Over 70 data brokers had my information, and there were 489 listings where that information was for sale, and Delete Me submitted opt-out requests for all of them. Now, those data brokers are probably going to be able to get my information again, but
he has an interesting way of speaking about anything. Like, I'm genuinely interested in this
as soon as those listings pop up. Go check out Delete Me. I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. Our story begins.
He said that they submitted the forms so that they will delete him, but did they do it actually? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, that's actually
because I was working some time ago in the cold calling business. You know that you call. I was one of those guys, unfortunately, that you call someone and you try to sell something, and we had those data of all those people from the third party, and we called those people, and sometimes they asked us to remove it. But it was not possible for us because we were not the owners of this information, of this data. That was the third party. And we didn't even have a right to remove it by the request of a client. The client had to do it by themselves. So there was that already, the complication. And even if he would ask this company to remove his data, then there is no guarantee that they would do it.
Yeah.
And so many of those companies, they have your data that, 3 of them will remove your data and then the rest will still call you.
If you ever use such a service, then let us know. I would be interested. I don't know if you're using it, but I'm curious how that works and whether it actually works and if they proved to you in some way that
And if you tried this, especially this from Fat Electrician, then let us know, because I think I would like to try.
We're trying very hard to get a sponsor.
Ready?
Yes.
Begins in 1942 as the 2nd Marine. I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. Our story begins in 1942 as the 2nd Marine Division is currently in New Zealand gearing up to go into combat against the Japanese in World War II. And like all great military stories, it totally happened. It begins in a bar with a bunch of Marines drinking. And as is tradition with the military drinking at a bar, there are conflicting reports as to what actually happened. According to the Marine Corps, the Marines went out to a local bar in New Zealand. They then started drinking with the locals, and they all had a great, very professional, cordial time where they all drank a very appropriate amount of alcohol, potentially even a Surgeon General recommended amount. And then none of the Marines went out and hooked up with any of the local women. And if they did, hypothetically, which they didn't, but if they did, it would have been strictly in the missionary position, and the Marines would have used protection. Now, while they were at the bar, there was also a raffle. And apparently, a bunch of the Marines bought these tickets for this raffle, and one of the Marines by the name of Sergeant Francis Fagan ended up winning the raffle. Now, the grand prize for...
Do you know what is the raffle?
Yes.
What is it?
Oh, it's like, it's... sorry, I'll say it in Polish. I wanted to ask you, can I say it in Polish? Can I say it in Polish? Loteria.
Ah, all right.
Yeah, sorry, that was easier than explaining.
Why not the word lottery?
Because a lottery is when you go and you put your numbers, for example, to win something in the lottery, or you submit a ticket to win the money. A raffle, the idea of the raffle is that it's like what would be organized at a fest at your school.
All
so
right.
like you pull a ticket and you choose something at random.
All right, okay.
I lost the word. How do you say choose at random? You draw something from the pile.
Okay.
By the name of Sergeant Francis Fagan ended up winning the raffle. Now, the grand prize for this raffle at a bar in New Zealand was apparently a duck. And that's what the Marine Corps says happened. Now, according to the other sources, mostly the personal...
You would go for the raffle.
Yeah, imagine how happy I'd be.
Common sense says that
What would you do?
Do you think you're gonna win like a plastic hat, but you win the duck?
Go into the biggest armed conflict the world has ever seen. And while they were there, some of the Marines were playing poker with the locals, and the Marines apparently took all of their money, and they came back to the table, and they're like, all right, well, here's my prize duck. I'm gonna put that up as a wager. And the Marine Corps ended up winning that too. And that, again, was Sergeant Francis Fagan, a.k.a. Pappy. Now, personally,
he gambled with his friends.
The Marines got hammered at a bar, won a duck in a poker game, and the chain of command didn't want to get in trouble for associating the Marine Corps with gambling, so they just made up some weird shit, like apparently bars in New Zealand raffle off ducks, but you can go ahead and decide to believe whatever you want. Regardless, either way, Francis Fagan, and by extension, the Marine Corps, now has a duck. So what are the Marines going to do with a duck? Obviously, they take it under their wing.
I'd like to apologize to the internet for making you a dad.
I mean, to be fair, that is true. I kind of turned her into a bodybuilder for like 18 months between the two kids.
Wow.
Interrupting my history time. Sorry about that. Anyways,
a bodybuilder.
Pretty much immediately teach this duck how to drink beer, which I know what you're thinking. That's probably not very healthy for the duck, but to be fair, there are worse vices to have. I mean, he could get addicted to quack. I'm sorry. I'm done. Okay, I'm done with that.
That's hilarious. That's the kind of joke I love. Addicted to quack.
Quack. Well, to that one you can get quackly addicted. It's very dangerous.
By the way, were there any animals in the military that were not drinking?
Yeah, it's like these soldiers see an animal and the first thing they want to do is give it alcohol.
Yeah, I think there has to be like an AA meeting for the animals in military. Like AAA. Anonymous Animals Alcoholics. And there's this duck, the horse, the bear. The bear is... Pardon.
Well, he can barely speak because he's smoking so many cigarettes.
Barely?
Okay, we have to stop.
Duck, he becomes one of the Marines, and then time comes for them to all go off to war and actually engage with the Japanese. Sure enough, they take the duck with them. Fast forward, November 1943, the Battle of Tarawa. It's one of the bloodiest battles in Marine Corps history. Essentially, the Japanese have 4,000 soldiers dug in and heavily fortified on the Tarawa Atoll, and the Marines have to go in there and take them out. Now, what's unique about Tarawa is it is surrounded by coral reefs, and what that means is any traditional landing craft that America could use, like a Higgins boat, similar to what we used over in the European theater, would get hung up on these coral reefs, and the Japanese would be able to spray it with machine gun fire and artillery and mortars and kill absolutely everybody. The Japanese were so confident in these coral reefs and their fortified defenses that Admiral Shimasaki said that it would take 1,000,000 men 100 years to take Tarawa. But he didn't know that the Marine Corps had the LVT, the Landing Vehicle Tracked, aka the amphibious tractor. Similar to a Higgins boat, except it had tracks on it, and then when it hit the coral reefs, it would simply drive right over
pretty
the top
smart.
of it. So November 20th,
invention.
1943 at 3 a.m. under the cover of darkness, 18,000 Marines and one duck would load into their salamander tractors as they prepared to launch.
I think smart is a bit of a, not misunderstanding, but a small word to use.
Understatement.
Understatement, yeah, because it's not just smart; it's a game changer. And I wonder how the intelligence of the Japan worked, that they so much believed in those coral reefs, and they didn't know that the USA has this kind of equipment, this kind of boat.
No idea.
Like they were hiding them. They didn't use them before in any operation. How did that work? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
And why weren't they used in other areas? Like he said, in the European area, when, for example, for the D-Day landings, they used the normal kind of the boats, the one that he said before. And why not those if they were so good? Maybe there was no need. I don't know. But interesting how they had no idea. Let us know.
I think keeping secrets in the military, at least for me, it's quite interesting in general.
I mean, you are able to keep secrets, but
Yeah, you are. But I always think about it. You know, for example, in the US, when we say that there's probably a lot of course, a lot of going on behind closed doors, but you have so many people involved because you have to have so many people involved, and to think that nothing gets away. I mean, things get away, and then some other things are made up and we don't believe people. I'm thinking about some of the whistleblowers, like we don't believe them. I don't personally believe them, for example, about the aliens, but...
No, but do you remember Edward Snowden?
Yeah, I guess, but it's...
He was a whistleblower, and what he said was basically true. Everything that he said.
Yeah.
So some things come out, of course. But I think it's different when there is a war going
when
on.
the war going on, because no one has the motivation to share the secrets. That's true. I mean, unless they are
I think
spy.
a lot of people have a motivation to share secrets, like just out of top of my head, money. Like you bribe other spies.
But isn't it more difficult? Maybe I'm very naive, but isn't it more difficult to bribe people during the war?
No, I don't think so, because the price is higher.
Maybe.
And that's a bigger, motivation for you to commit treason. No, I think lots of secrets come out, but it's still possible to keep secrets for some time.
Well, if I had a duck, I would keep it secret.
Amphibious landing at the quack of dawn. As dawn broke, the Japanese soldiers watched in horror as the American landing crafts did not get hung up on the reefs, but simply drove right over the top of them. The only surviving Japanese officer from this battle, Kiyoshi Ota, would later go on to write, "We could see the American landing craft coming towards us like dozens of spiders over the surface of the water, as one of my men exclaimed, 'The gods of death have come.'" As the Marines reached the beach, they would become pinned down from heavy machine gun, artillery, and mortar fire. They were only able to secure the first 70 yards of the beach after hours of combat. It is at this point that the Marines' front line was charged by an enemy rooster, and Sergeant Seawash charged past the Marine line to meet the chicken in winged combat in the middle of the battlefield. After sustaining several pecks to the head, Seawash was able to repel the enemy ambush and save his fellow Marines. The Marines would then go on in the following days to completely take over the island. The Japanese believed that it would take 1 million men 100 years. In reality, it took 18,000 Marines and 1 devil duck 72 hours. For sustaining multiple peck wounds on the battlefield, the Marines tried to get Seawash the Purple Heart. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to work out, but the chain of...
I'm sorry, what? Because I thought that's a joke. And it's not a joke?
Apparently not, but he did say at the beginning that maybe parts of this story I made up.
I need to hear it again, sorry, but I just need to hear it again. How? What?
So there was a rooster coming.
Yeah, but when? How? How did this happen? There was a fire, like... Thousands of soldiers from one side were shooting at thousands of soldiers from the other side.
Yeah, and they had a rooster.
And in the middle of that, the rooster and the duck met each other on the battlefield. And how did they took this duck, by the way?
We watch so many movies together. By the way, check out our movie channel. And I've never wanted you to suspend your disbelief as much as I want to right now. Just stop questioning it. It's good. Leave it alone. Let us have the rooster and the duck fight. Oh my god, can't we have good things?
The Marines' front line was charged by an enemy rooster, and Sergeant Seawash charged past the Marine line to meet the chicken in winged combat in the middle of the battlefield. After sustaining several pecks to the head, Seawash was able to repel the enemy ambush and save his fellow Marines. The Marines would then go on in the following days to completely take over the island. The Japanese believed that it would take 1 million men 100
problem with
years.
this?
In reality, it took 18,000 Marines and 1 devil duck 72 hours. For sustaining multiple peck wounds on the battlefield, the Marines tried to get Seawash the Purple Heart. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to work out, but the chain of command still cited Seawash for bravery on the battlefield. That citation, written by Lieutenant Colonel Presley M. Brexley, is as follows. For courageous action and wounds received on Tarawa and the Gilbert Islands in November 1943, with utter disregard for his own personal safety, Seawash, upon reaching the beach without hesitation, engaged the enemy in fierce combat, namely one rooster of Japanese ancestry, and though wounded on the head by repeated pecks, he soon routed his opposition. He then refused medical aid until all wounded members of his section had been taken care of first. Seawash and his fellow Marines would then see battle again at the Battle of Saipan, also known as the D-Day of the Pacific. However, allegedly due to some intel, there would be no enemy poultry on the beach, so Seawash's services were no longer needed, and he would remain on the boat for the initial 3 days of the battle. After that, he would go ashore and support his fellow Marines. At the conclusion of the Battle of Saipan, the Marines had gained valuable intel regarding the neighboring island of Tinian, and they would immediately launch another attack to gain that island as well, and this time, the Devil Duck would partake in the amphibious landing. From there, he would identify an enemy duck that he would engage in build combat until forcing it to finally retreat. A couple of days after that, the Marines would take the island entirely, and shortly after that, Sergeant Seawash would lay an egg. Apparently, Seawash and the other duck I mentioned a minute ago were doing a little bit more than just fighting. Either way, at this point, the Marines now realize that Sergeant Seawash is in fact a girl, to which they're like,
a woman.
just kidding, they didn't actually care. In reality, they were probably giving each other a hard time, like, all right, who did it? Fess up.
I can imagine that.
Saw combat. After World War II, she would end up getting sent back home to America with her fellow Marines and her primary caretaker, Francis Fagan. From there, the story of Sergeant Seawash picked up traction, being in Time magazine, having multiple radio appearances, being in a bunch of different newspapers, telling the harrowing story of America's one and only devil duck. And while all that's going on, she is partying her bill off with her Marines, drinking beer after beer, while also helping the Marines hit on young women. And I actually believe this to be the first historical appearance of the term wingman being used in relation to picking up women. Okay, I mean, look at this. Fagan and Seawash have more game than an Xbox. That man's about to get more than an animal shelter. Over the next couple months, the publicity would die down, and Francis Fagan would go on to become an electrician. And his great-grandson would also go on to become an electrician that had a pretty decent-sized YouTube channel. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not related to this guy. Anyways, Sergeant Seawash would also then go to live on a farm for an extended period of time until being called back into duty during the Korean War, where she helped with recruiting efforts. After that, she would finally retire to live out the rest of her days in the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago before passing away in 1953 due to liver complications, which prompted the Marines to release a statement saying that there is no reason to believe that her liver complications were due to her excessive amount of drinking during her time in service. According to multiple newspapers, her funeral service was then held in a taxidermy shop where she was then stuffed and currently resides in the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Triangle, Virginia. So,
can you imagine the foie gras from this duck? I'm just saying, it could have been.
Actually, I think it's the opposite, because I think when you get the alcohol disease, your liver kind of shrivels up, but your liver is supposed to be covered in fat for the foie gras.
Is it not when you have a?
I think not. I think it's kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I have no idea about livers.
And also, I imagine that going into a bar with a duck is really great move when you want to pick up some girls.
If I were there.
Like, can you imagine? Like, you could go with a duck, and everyone has so many questions to you, and you can have every story, and every story would sound probable.
Yeah.
Just because you have this duck with you.
I know I would be won over like that. Sorry.
Conclusion, this has been the totally real, 100% not embellished whatsoever story of Sergeant Sea-Wash, aka America's Devil Duck. That time the Marine Corps won a duck in a poker game, taught it how to drink beer, then took it to multiple amphibious landings in the deadliest battles of World War II, kept it alive the entire time to bring it back home so they could use it to hit on women, and I think it is the most Marine Corps thing that has ever happened, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me down below, and if your story's better, I'll do a video on that too. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out.
Bye. Is there already a story after the...
I think so, yeah. Or not?
Oh, not yet. It's an older video. There is nothing. Okay, I'm happy.
Wait, did he say quack bang out?
Yes, he said.
So...
But I think he was saying that before as well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But I need to learn the origin story of that, if there is one.
You can...
Ask our viewers? I am asking. I am asking. Let me know if you know the origin story. Otherwise, we'll try to learn it somehow on our own. But don't leave us on our own. Okay,
I must say I have some doubts to this story.
I do not. I don't have a single doubt in my head.
Yeah, I know. But it's a great story.
It is a great story.
And when he said that there were many reports in press about the duck, I was like, weren't they have like too many of those? Like already? There was... Oh, wait, because the Sergeant Reckless was from the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
So who was also in the Second World War?
Wojtek, the bear?
Yeah, but in the US?
No one that we know of. There wasn't another animal that we have watched.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very guys for recommending this video as well, because a lot of you recommended it a while ago. We just took a break from the... because we try not to just watch Fat Electrician and then we would have to watch every single video about the animals.
With good things, you know,
And
you
for
need
some reason,
to take
Valdemar-
it once upon a time.
Especially Valdemar didn't want to watch every Fat Electrician video about animals, so today
That's not
I
true.
just made that decision.
That's not true.
But actually, you don't seem to suggest a lot of Fat Electrician videos to us. But a lot of you say that he doesn't mind the reactions. We read your comments, so that's great. It's nice to know that he likes reactors. But if you have any specific videos that you want us to watch, you could drop them in the comments, because there's still so much to choose from, and it's really hard. All of these videos are good, I suppose. All of them sound interesting. All of them are popular. So if you want to help us choose, that would be actually really great. If there is anything like hidden gems as well, maybe, because, you know, we could watch anything.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know.
Your hair is strange. You look a bit like a duck.
You look like a duck. Fuck
I don't
off.
look like a duck. No, you know, like here.
Fuck off.
There's little hairs here.
Yeah, I know, but still. Fuck off.
You can't speak to your woman like that.
Fuck off. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching with us.
When are we getting a duck?
Have a good day. And goodbye.
And next time you see you, maybe we'll own a duck. Bye.